beta green tea. Beta is salicylic, so it has salicylic acid in it, and then it has a lot of heart of green tea. So it makes it a good stripping cleanser. It foams up nicely, but it's gentle enough for most skins and still giving you that antiseptic stripping properties that you'd like to see happen when you're wanting to break the skin down enough for your peel absorption. So remember I said earlier, your prepping for peels is so important in terms of how the acids that you put on then are received by the skin. If you have any excess lipids and oils that are blocking your absorption, you're not going to get as much lifting. So I just work that in a little bit, and this is a fine mixture for a cleanser that it can just kind of even sit on the skin, and you would just get some benefit of the antioxidants, the green tea, and then the salicylic. Just lay these on your eyes, nice and warm, wipe away a little bit. And I want the pressure to be pretty firm. Okay, now that I've taken all of her makeup off, I can see a little better the pigmentation that she's talking about. That's fairly mottled. She's got quite a bit on both sides of her face, and interestingly enough, she has more on this side than on the driver's side. Usually you'll see more focused on the driver's side, you know, just from the sun hitting in, but you don't seem to have as much on this side as you do over here. She's got some little cherry angiomas, some little broken capillaries. The skin is dehydrated. She has some little fatty deposits. I think that's some of what you're saying you feel in the skin. She just has a little collection of that on her skin here and there. And then on her forehead she has quite a few more. It's not very smooth. Now it looks smooth just to look at her with the naked eye, but when you really start touching this, you can feel that it's pretty, you know, it's pretty noticeable, pretty bumpy. And I don't think those will go away with just peels. I mean, I know they won't go away with peels. It's going to take a little bit more support, and that's why we talked to her about doing the cauterization. So we will hit these areas on the forehead with the probe when we're finished with the peel, and that would take care of that. Now, whether or not anything comes back, you know, they won't typically come back where we've worked, but if she develops more somewhere else, it would just really depend on what caused them in the first place. And as you were saying or mentioning earlier, Jasmine, about asphyxiation and the cosmetics that she might be using and the skin being too dehydrated, sometimes that'll cause eruptions to form under the skin. And you can usually alleviate that problem pretty well without having to do the cauterization. But anyway, so let's go ahead and proceed. Then the other thing I mentioned earlier that I'd like to see her really start focusing on are the fine lines around the eyes, so that she keeps her eyes looking real fresh and healthy and young. And then we want to smooth out the nose area too. Now these are different, what I see on the nose.
It just came up.
This looks like toxicity. So you mentioned you were near your cycle, so that could be why. And what happens when your female clients are on their cycle or near that time and you do a peel?
They're sensitive.
They're a lot more sensitive, aren't they? They're going to feel the intensity of it quite a bit more than if they were not. So you sometimes want to plan that so that it doesn't happen, so that the peel is done after. The pre-peel solution has a mixture of salicylic acid and a little lactic, very low strengths, 4% salicylic, and then it's got ursolic, U-R-S-O-L-I-C, ursolic acid, and betulinic acid. And those are two good acids that I've liked working with that are very helpful in promoting just a healthier skin tissue, anti-aging, anti-carcinogenic. And this has just a nice smoothing, lifting benefit to further help defat the skin, but also give some added support to the tissue. And we will leave this on her skin. This will not come off. And I'm using fairly firm pressure. And you want your pressure to be even all the way, and you want your application to be even so that you're blending up. And how does that feel to you?
It's just a tiny bit tingly.
Yeah, I didn't give her the fan right away. I'm going to be giving it to her shortly. But I wanted her to feel this without it. But you would probably want to make sure with your client that they're able to tolerate. Most people can tolerate this fairly well without the fan, unless they've been doing a lot of aggressive pre-treating, just because of the salicylic in it and the lactic. Come into the ear lobe area, go back into the hairline, make it very even. And like I said, your pressure the same. I like the combination of this pre-peel with this particular peel that we're doing, just because it does have the salicylic with those two supportive anti-aging ingredients. And also, like I said, being anti-carcinogenic, that's just going to promote a healthier skin overall for most of your skins that are exposed. When this first goes on, what I like about this mixture, this is 25% salicylic, and it goes on the skin and has a very cooling effect. And that can be really nice for a skin that's very inflamed, a skin that has rosacea, just a skin that seems to be rather sensitive. Not to say that this won't warm up, because it does. As it sits on the skin, it starts to get very warm. Now you notice how it's getting hotter and hotter because the cream base is beginning to work into the skin more with the salicylic. That's why when it first goes on, that cooling effect that it has is sort of a nice sensation, but then it does begin to heat up. And I'm just going to keep rolling it on the skin for a moment. Like I said, you don't have to do the massage. If you want to just get it on real good and then let it sit on the skin with the fan, you can do that. One thing that I could have added to this that I didn't, that isn't in the protocol, but I adjust a lot of times for skins that are pigmented by adding a little melanin suppressant. And so you know you have that option with the melanin suppressant, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second as far as what's in it. But you could add melanin suppressant to a lot of these treatments just to give you a little extra support to brighten the skin. But the melanin suppressant has just got a good base of kojic acid and L-ascorbic acid and azelaic acid in a tomato extract base. It's the tomato leaf. So that makes it very antibacterial as well as brightening and lightening. Azelaic is good. I don't know if I talked about azelaic acid this morning, but you know that has great brightening capabilities as well as antibacterial. And so I put that in a lot of formulas, a little bit just to tweak it to give those extra properties to the peel. You know, and she does have some pigmentation issues, but I think we're going to see her skin you know, do quite well with just this mixture and get a nice little peeling. Tell me when this subsides.
It's starting to subside.
Okay. It doesn't stay hot too terribly long. One of the things I've done that I like to do is at this state, once it totally sets, stops working. Remember I said salicylic is self-neutralizing, so it's not really so much that you have to be concerned about your time and watching the skin for that reason. And then I would do a little warm compress to seal that into the skin. That's an optional step, and you would kind of determine that depending on the skin you're working with, if they can handle the heat or if they're going to be sensitive to that. Like I said, for her and for most skins done this way, I would consider it to be either an aggressive progressive or a moderate mid-depth. And depending on where that falls, if you all understand what I mean by the progressive peels, those are some that you don't get exfoliation, but you do weekly. And then our mid-depths are peels that you get more exfoliation and they're repeated, you know, maybe once a month usually. And they're just a little more in-depth peels in terms of lifting and also regeneration or stimulation. And so this kind of borders on being a little more than a progressive and a little less than a mid-depth. And you'll find that's true with a lot of the mixtures. You know, it's hard to categorize them exactly, and it's also very hard to tell your client always with each peel what they're going to get, because sometimes they might have more exfoliation for a longer period of time, and then there's other times where they may hardly notice any lifting, but yet the skin just rebounded so beautifully and they saw such nice changes that it had a dynamic effect on the skin. And it isn't always about visible peeling. It's about other things that are going on with that skin. But this mixture will be really nice as just a salicylic cream paste to use for a lot of acne skins, skins that just can't take the stronger, hotter acids. And when you're just sort of wanting to use a salicylic mixture that's pretty moderate, say in place of an alpha hydroxy. I would like to see just a real nice pink stimulation, a little, you know, glow and polish to the skin. And there are several things that you could do once this is removed. And now we're doing it a certain way that I gave you in the protocol with the Mandelic arginine, but this could be it. For those of you who are just kind of starting out and you want to work with this by itself with a few of your clients, just let this be the end of your treatment and finish with some growth factor. Give the skin some antioxidant support, and that's all you would need to do. That could be the treatment. I've worked with salicylic so long, and I found it to be such a user-friendly preparation and peeling agent. I really do like it, but you can overdo salicylic, and there is such a thing as salicylism, which is a toxic reaction, and that's if you do more than 25% of the body at one time with your if you get up to this percentage and higher, that could become a concern, of course. And it usually cools pretty quickly. And you want to get every bit of this off, and this cream does get a little thick, and it gets dry on the skin. And so a couple of rinses and holding the skin kind of firm. My pressure is always pretty firm anyway with these applications. You just need to be, for the removal as well as for the application, your goal is to really get it in the skin and get it off the skin. And so it's quite different from a facial. And I went all the way back into this hairline, so it's okay to get a little bit into the hair. The idea is to get a very nice, even outcome, and you want to encompass all of the skin in order to do that, unless there would be some reason, of course, not to. Just because this is in a cream paste, don't let it, you don't want to make the mistake of disregarding its potency, thinking it's more like a mask or something, and not getting all of this mixture off. It could leave the skin a little irritated. Okay, how's that feel?
Feels
okay.
Cool and
you're
numb.
Feeling cool and numb. I would expect the numbness, okay? Remember, this has an analgesic effect on the skin. Okay, well, keep your fan kind of nearby. That's okay to use that. And everything looks good. There's nothing going on with her skin that would say to me, I need to pull back. I need to stop and put something healing on the skin at this point. How does it feel?
Hot.
How does it feel besides?
It feels good.
Does it feel smooth?
Yeah, it feels tight.
Tell me in terms of sensation. I would kind of like to have her feeling pretty okay before I put this next solution on. And where she's still feeling a little hot, I want to wait, because typically people aren't usually feeling it at this stage.
It's starting to go away.
Okay. And like I said, there's no swelling, there's no rash, there's
It's just real.
no unusual redness. It's very normal the way the redness is. The tightness is very normal, and you would expect that. I want to see that. And it does look certainly a lot smoother. How are you feeling in terms of the intensity now? Is that feeling better?
Yeah, it's.
Do you feel it?
I still feel heat through here.
Okay.
Just through that area, right in here,
Okay.
on my cheeks. But it might be just because I'm premenstrual.
Well, I think it is. You know, I think that's partly it, why she's feeling it so much. But that's okay, and it's still not anything that would cause me any alarm. It's not so much that I would have a reason to stop and reassess this. And like I say, by looking at her skin and everything, that's telling me that she's okay. But remember that inflammatory response we talked about, that's erythema you're going to see, the pain and discomfort, heat in the skin, and swelling in the tissue. Those are 4 things that will go on anyway for what we're doing to her skin. So those are kind of normal sensations and reactions. Okay, this has got your Mandelic arginine. It's just a clear solution, and I'm going to put it on real even, firm pressure. And let's see how your skin.
And this one is more calming.
Well, I don't know that I would say it's more calming. It has a very low sensation typically to it, but after something like this you may feel it a little more. But it's certainly very healing, regenerating. If you go through and above the lip, which is certainly an area that needs addressing, just be aware that you don't get any inside the nose and on the lips. Oops. Get around. She will flake with this. She will get mild flaking, and I'm really saturating here where she's got this little scar tissue formation. So yeah, any skin type, unless they're allergic to salicylic. Who could not use salicylic? We didn't talk about this today. Someone who's aspirin sensitive, right? And sometimes you'll have a client who says they're aspirin sensitive, but then you'll find in moderate ranges of salicylic topically, they can tolerate it okay and don't have a problem. So don't totally rule it out, but definitely make sure you're very, very aware of that and go slowly. So now she's got the Hydra Complex, and this is a real good antioxidant, nutrient-based serum to put on top of this. It has the grapeseed extract, the yam progesterone from the yam, and then it has some essential oils of cypress. Well, what I'm doing is cauterizing some areas on her face, some little appendages, if you will, that are raised and above the skin that will not come off with a peel or will not come off with microdermabrasion. And so I'm going to cauterize them very lightly with this little needle. And cauterizing is burning, okay? Cauterizing the surface of the tissue. And what it will do is cause that matter to kind of dry up, flake off, and just dissipate. And anything underneath, whether it's cholesterol, fatty substance, lipids, melanin, I'm going to hit a couple of these little capillaries, and it'll pull up the blood so that that's no longer there. So that's what it is for. And she has a couple places that we're going to go ahead and do while she's up here to see how she, I don't think I'll do you all over. I think I'll just do a few to see how you do with it and see if these go away. And you want to always do this as the last part of the treatment because you are cauterizing, and that creates a bit of a disturbance in a wound more. So you don't want to go back over it. You don't want to put more creams or lotions on or do your peels afterwards. What I'm doing is I'm just taking a little witch hazel and just kind of cleaning away just this area where I'm going to be working. And I'm going to just, this is just water. And I have a foot pedal down here that I'm activating this current. She's a little nervous. Just a very slight tapping. And I don't know if you can see the discoloration or the white. Very little tapping. Kind of quick. No, you're not. You're not breaking the skin.
It feels like it shocks it.
Yeah, it's a little prickle. This one is kind of moving around here. There we go. Now I think I will go ahead and hit this one little red. Can you all see this little cherry angioma? This is great. What I really love this for, I mean, it's great for these little, little things on the face to get the little bumps off and that. But boy, does it remove a skin tag beautifully. And just anywhere those are, they just come off so nice. And, okay. That has pulled up all that red. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell it like I can, because in the process of dissipating the redness, it will create more redness out around where you've worked, because the body automatically, sends a supply of blood to start healing where you've cauterized. And so it's very normal for these areas now to get looking kind of red and splotchy once the white dissipates, or once you pull that up. Although that's a pretty good sized one. I think I could go around the circle of it just a little bit more. And that's all there is to it. So the tapping motion is just on and off the skin. It's just, if you hold this on your skin while you've got your foot pedal depressed, you are going to really burn the skin and you are going to become more invasive. But because it's just a tapping, you're working on the very surface of the skin. 2 steps basically. You know, you're peeling cream with your salicylic and the Mandelic arginine. What's your question?
If you're treating rosacea with this, how frequently can you repeat it?
Well, you could repeat this in probably 2 weeks, but you want to just make sure the skin is peeled and healed. That's really what you're going to do. A lot of times how you determine what your next step is going to be with the skin is to see it. Look at the skin. Now what happens if she calls me tonight and says, my skin is horrible. It's so tight, I can't hardly move. It hurts, I'm all swollen and I'm turned brown. You know, you've scarred me. She says all that. You know, what are you going to do? You know, first of all, what you want to do is tell her, okay, I want you to relax and calm down. I don't want you to do anything to your skin. I want you to come and see me tomorrow morning. Get them back in so that you can see what they're seeing. I mean, other than what you've sent them home with the little growth factor or post-balm, don't have them go doing, you know, anything to the skin. If someone were really uncomfortable and tight, you could suggest that they take Tylenol. You know, some type of pain reliever like Advil Tylenol. But have them come in and look at their skin. I've had a lot of estheticians call me with what they thought were complications. And they said, a client just called me, I did a peel on them, and this is going on, this, and this. And I said, well, when did you do the peel? Oh, yesterday, you know, or 3 days ago. Have you seen them? No, they're telling me this. Most of the time they exaggerate, and most of the time when they come back in and you see them, they're really having an experience that's very common to, you know, what one will go through with peels. And if it's new to them, they might be in a little bit of a panic mode. So that's why you want to get them back in your office so you can look at them. And together you talk about all this that's going on. And you will usually know immediately. I can let, oh, well, you're just brown from the crusting of the peel. That's going to come out. Or you're just a little tight because that's getting ready to break. You know, it's always something about what's going on with that peel generally. I mean, you will know a true allergic reaction. But those kinds of comments, you know, have them come back in.